Welcome to my new channel, The Lawman. Today we'll be speaking about the NCR versus the Brotherhood from Fallout. But before we begin, this channel is going to be all about lore from different types of games and all that kind of stuff. So let's begin. If we were going to speak about the war, a full-on faction v faction against the NCR versus the Brotherhood, we'll first need to look into the history of the Wasteland at the beginning to see the actual war. Far in the west, there's the NCR, and in the same kind of area, in California, in New California, there is the Western Brotherhood, a very small, isolated chapter that began to hoard technology for themselves and beginning to call the NCR's people and stuff lesser to them. The High Elder was Jeremy Maxson. And he hoarded technology for himself for a while from every faction in the area, and obviously the NCR didn't like that. But the Brotherhood did have, it does have a lot of advantages that the NCR does not have. It mainly has powered armored units, soldiers that are basically one-man armies, in a sense, and they have very high very technologically advanced compared to the NCR. But the NCR are not pushovers. The NCR has a sum of 7,000 citizens and one of the largest armed forces the Wasteland has ever seen. So the tiny little chapter in the west completely collapsed under the weight of the NCR. But today I'm thinking of comparing a proper faction v faction, so if we grabbed all the chapters together and faced them off against the NCR. So we have to begin with the pros and cons of both factions, and then I will decide what I think would win in a full-on war, against both of the factions. So let's begin with the Brotherhood. So the Brotherhood has so the chapters that I'm going to theoretically unite against the NCR are going to be the Midwestern Brotherhood, the Brotherhood of DC, all of them. I'm not really sure about all of them. Anyway, so okay, we united all of them, and then we'll give them the Predwin, Liberty Prime, and all of their soldiers. So if we stack them up together, there's got to be a lot of soldiers with power armor, right? There's got to be a lot. Mainly T45 sets of power armor, and T60 sets kind of on the side, and T51s for the higher-ups. So the Paladins will probably get T51s, and some of the Knight Captains will probably get T60s, and the Standard Knights will probably divide themselves in between T45s and that Western power armor. I'm not really sure what it's called, but it looks cool. Anyway, so yeah, we have Liberty Prime and a bunch of powered armored units, and from the Midwestern and from Boston, we have soldiers, standard soldiers of the Brotherhood. I think they're called initiates, and sometimes knights don't go in the power armor. Sometimes, things have to be made. So I'm not sure how much there is, but that's probably pretty powerful, right? So they have the Liberty Prime and the Predwin, the main kind of things, and they have all their vertibirds. So that is a pretty powerful force. But there's got to be a few flaws in their way. With most of their soldiers having power armor, they will not be able to hide from the NCR very well. The NCR will probably spot them from a long distance away and probably start shooting at them with Rangers, Black Rangers even. I believe that Black Rangers are the best of the Desert Rangers that the NCR has, the most trained, the best, the most elite. So they'll probably send those guys out and Standard Rangers to face off and to basically use guerrilla warfare to take down as many powered armored units as possible. So, that's quite difficult to, you know. But with Liberty Prime and the Predwin, Paladin Dance, I believe, says in Fallout 4, correct me if I'm wrong, he says that the Predwin can basically it's basically just a base in the sky. It can hold like hundreds of soldiers. It can hold at least 4 vertibirds in its bay, many powered armored units. So I'll be thinking that they'll probably send that in. So I think they'll be more aggressive than they usually are, because they usually the Brotherhood is quite aggressive. You can see that in Fallout 3 when they attack the Enclave. With Liberty Prime, they'll wreak havoc in New California. I think it'll start like the battle in the lore, where the Brotherhood kind of wins at the beginning and just kind of pushes the NCR back. But looking stat-wise, it's not very good, because most of the Brotherhood are soldiers. Basically, all of them are soldiers. They're a military organization, so they will probably not have a lot of food and water to keep their campaign going. So I believe that they would have to halt at some point after destroying the NCR at the front lines. But the NCR does not have that issue. They have, as I stated before, one of the largest armed forces of the Wasteland. Having one of the armed forces of the Wasteland come with pros. As in, they have a lot of soldiers to spare, a lot of soldiers to kind of flank, and all of that good stuff. So, I believe... Well, let's talk about the NCR now. I think we kind of rounded up everything that the Brotherhood has to offer. And, okay, the NCR now. The NCR, has one of the largest armies in the Wasteland. And, with the largest army, I believe they'll probably be pushed back at the start because of the amount of powered armored units. That's not a small amount. That's not as small as in the actual battle in the lore. But I think with the Rangers and the anti-material rifles, they can probably take a fair few powered armored soldiers down. So, and they'll be used in main front fighting. And with the amount of soldiers they have, they are all very well trained. They probably have, grenade launchers and stuff like that. I'm not going to say it's like a cakewalk, but, they'll probably be able to take down a lot of powered armored units. But at the same time, they will suffer heavy losses. But with having a large army, it's kind of a small thing in the large kind of scale, in the long term. So, let's say they send in Liberty Prime. I believe that Liberty Prime will probably crush the NCR's, not all, but will crush a lot of NCR soldiers. But the NCR does have its own vertibirds, because after the oil rig was exploded by, I believe, the Vault Dweller or the Chosen one of the two. So they do have vertibirds and stuff, and probably in real life they'll probably attach some grenade launcher or have a rocket launcher on top of them. All it takes is going around Liberty Prime and shooting his mini nukes, and he'll go boom. So I believe he will do a fair amount of damage, but in the end game he will die, and that's when the Brotherhood will start kind of crumbling inside of the NCR. They will die inside of the NCR, I believe. They will be surrounded. Obviously, they will give them a hell of a fight. There will be losses in the thousands for the NCR. But with having about, 7,000 citizens in all of the NCR, probably more than that, and one of the largest armies that Wasteland's ever seen, I believe that the NCR would win. And there's a little bias. I'm not trying to be biased there, but I just believe that the NCR would win because, same as the Brotherhood, they do have the heavy troopers from Fallout New Vegas, so they do have their own powered armored units. Not as many as the Brotherhood, but they still, they still have powered armored units. And I believe that the NCR would win, but at a heavy cost. They will be crippled to the point of, if the Legion comes back, they wouldn't be able to defend if that kind of timescale, but I believe that the Brotherhood can, if even when it's fully united, they could win. Oh yeah, and also I almost forgot the Pride win. I believe the NCR couldn't really take down a Pride win because it's too heavily guarded and armored. I believe they'll leave out, and that'll be the last remainder of the Brotherhood. But it's just my opinion. Tell me who you think would win in the comments, and I would love to see your, all of your opinions about this. I believe this is a pretty cool topic, and comment down below if you want to see another video like this, maybe against the Enclave versus the NCR, or the Legion versus the Brotherhood, anything like that. Comment down below if there's anyone watching this, and have a nice day.